Welcome back to CA Intermediate Advanced Accounting. We were discussing Chapter 2, Framework for Preparation and Presentation of Financial Statements. We'll now quickly revise the entire topic. Shall we start the revision? Components of financial statements. Financial statements as a word means balance sheet, statement of profit or loss, cash flow statement, and any other notes and other significant policy statements that we prepare. And this is a statement prepared which is used by certain people. Who are the users? Investors, employees, lenders, borrowers, creditors, customers, employees, as well as your prospective investors, that is public. Government also, income tax department, as well as the MCA. Both require your information to make the policy for the country. And whenever you prepare financial statements, it's based on three important fundamental accounting assumptions. What are fundamental accounting assumptions? Number one, going concern. Number two, accrual. Number three, consistency. Whenever you prepare financial statements, it's prepared assuming that you have an intention to continue the business for foreseeable future. You have no intention to shut down in the immediate few days. Second point, accrual. Whenever you record a transaction, you record it on accrual basis. As and when the transaction happens, you record it. And you don't record it when it is merely affected in cash. Third point, consistency. When you prepare financial statements, accounting policies should be consistent from one year to another year. You can't keep changing your policies from year on year. It has to be consistent. These three are by default assumed to be followed by every entity. You don't have to tell that you are a going concern. You don't have to tell that you follow accrual concept. You don't have to tell that your accounting policies are consistent. If you don't tell anything, this is assumed. If in case your entity doesn't have going concern, or there is no accrual, or there is breach of consistency, then you have to make a statement that this is not followed. If you don't make any statement, it is always assumed that these three are followed by the entity. Going forward, we have qualitative characteristics of financial statements. What are qualitative characteristics? One, when you prepare financial statements, it has to be understandable, it has to be relevant, it has to be on time, it has to be serving the purpose. And the cost incurred should not be more than the benefit that you take. It will help people in comparison, and ultimately, the financial statements should be trustworthy. You can rely upon financial statements and take decision. That should be the quality of financial statements. To record assets and liabilities in financial statements, you have four valuation principles. Depending upon the situation, the same item will be valued in four different values. And depending upon the situation, we pick the value to write in our financial statements. So, what are the four valuation principles? Number one, historical cost. The money that you paid long, long ago when you purchased the asset is historical cost. Money that you should pay today, if you buy the same asset, same model today, that becomes current cost. Not the second hand product, the same product in the market today, what is the rate will become current cost. If in case you decide to sell that asset today, it is a price at which you can sell. Such an expected price at which you can sell becomes realizable value. Lastly, we have present value. Using this asset in the future, whatever cash flows that you will generate, that cash flows, if it is discounted to today's date, that will become present value. I'll repeat, historical cost, the price at which you have acquired that asset, to current cost, the price that you pay if you purchase the asset today. Realizable value, the money that you will get if in case you sell the asset today. Present value, it is the future cash flows that you will generate from this asset if discounted to today's date. What you arrive at is present value. So you understood all the four valuation principles. Depending upon the situation, the standard will tell which valuation technique to use for which asset. Then we discuss capital maintenance. What's capital maintenance? Very simple. Business has to maintain capital at a certain level to ensure that the business doesn't shut down, to ensure that it is a going concern. Basically, you can withdraw the profit that you have earned. You cannot withdraw more than what you have earned. If in case you withdraw more than what you have earned, you're not withdrawing the profit, but you're withdrawing the capital. Capital will decrease from previous year to current year. It can decrease from current year to next year. So the decrease at a point of time can make it zero. That means the business will get shut down. So to ensure that that doesn't happen, to uplift the concept of going concern, we have to withdraw only so much money as much as we've earned, not more than what we have earned. To arrive at this concept of capital maintenance, very simple. There are two major classifications. One, based on finance. Second one, physical. Financial capital maintenance further can be calculated under two sub methods, which is historical cost method and current purchasing power method. These both, historical cost method is the worst, which doesn't take into consider even inflation. Current purchasing power method takes into consideration inflation, which is general for the entire industry, not specific for the kind of product that we deal with. The most appropriate and accurate one, which will tell us the level of capital that we should maintain to ensure that the level of operations doesn't decrease, is physical capital maintenance. So, what is the most logical capital maintenance method? Physical capital maintenance. It is the most illogical. It is like adjusted but not accurate current purchasing power. What do we do? We have to maintain the capital such a way that we can do the operations at the same level what we did last year. Let's say in our example, last year we sold 5,000 units. This year also I have to be able to purchase and sell 5,000 units. So I should maintain the capital enough to maintain 5,000. So under historical cost method, what I do is I will take the acquisition rate last year. Last year I purchased each unit at 12. So this year also I will maintain 5,000 units what was there last year at historical cost of 10 per unit. 5,000 into 10. 50,000 will become the capital to be maintained. If it is more than 50, there is permissible drawings. I'm not forced to withdraw. I can withdraw. If it is less than 50, I cannot withdraw. Already the capital is lesser than the limit to be maintained. If needed, I have to bring additional capital to bring it to the same level. That is historical cost. Next, we discuss current purchasing power. This takes into consideration inflation, but not specifically for the product that I'm dealing, but for the entire industry or overall market as a whole. So here we'll get one index. Index will always be given in 120, 125, 115. When they say that 120, 125, 105 or something, base year is 100 and this year's price is 110, 125. If they tell 110, it means last year is 100, today it is 110, 10% increase. So when they give this index, what to do? Take the original units, what was there last year, 5,000, multiplied by historical rate, 10, 50. 50,000 was the capital that was maintained last year. So, to maintain the same level of operations, assuming the base as 100, 125 as the index, I need to take 50,000 divided by 100 multiplied by 125. You got 62,500. That is the capital to be maintained to ensure that the level of operations is same as last year. If the capital is more than 62,500 at the end of the year, such excess amount is permissible as drawings. We are allowed to withdraw. If it comes to be less than 62,500, then the capital has dipped below. In order to maintain the same level of operations, I might have to bring in additional capital. I hope you got it. Then the final point that we discussed is if it is at the same level, then I cannot withdraw. The more accurate one is physical capital maintenance. What do we do in physical capital maintenance? We want to maintain the same level of operations. So we go to the previous year and identify the number of units that we had. We want to buy the same number of units this year. The rate is not taken historically, the rate is not taken by way of price index. We visit the market, we'll identify the today's rate for the same product. We'll get the most accurate one. It will not be exactly like inflation. Inflation is for several products together. This rate is specific rate for the product that I'm dealing. We'll identify the closing rate. In our yesterday's example, it was 12 rupees. 5,000 units was there last year. 5,000 units should be maintained this year. Into 12, if you maintain, we get 60,000. 60,000 is the capital to be maintained. If you have more than 60, permissible as drawings. If you have less than 60, you need to additionally bring in as capital. Hope you understood. That's our physical capital maintenance. I want to give little additional stress on this going concern concept. If in case an entity is a going concern, we prepare balance sheet like normally how you've been doing for several years till now. Assets at cost, liabilities at so to say transaction value, expenses and incomes at transaction value, all fine. But whenever the entity is not a going concern, then substance over form will conservatism concept will be removed. Then the entire impact will start showing up on balance sheet. Assets and liabilities valuation will change. Expense income will remain same. Balance sheet is prepared because of going concern. If there is no going concern, then the way we prepare balance sheet will change. How does it change? In balance sheet, assets and liabilities will be no longer recorded at original cost. Assets will be recorded at realizable value. What if the realizable value is more than cost? Still we'll record them at realizable value. A 10,000 rupee asset, if it can be sold at 12,000, 2,000 rupees profit will be booked in PL and asset will be shown at 12. 10,000 rupees asset, if it is expected to be sold at 9,000, we'll change the value of the asset from 10 to 9 and 1,000 will write in P&L account debit side as expense. Same happens with liability. There is a liability of 10,000. It is expected to be settled 9,000 because we are expecting discount if we settle it immediately. Because if you are a going concern, you can't pay it after a few years. You pay immediately. Though you have not settled, because you are expecting some discount on settlement. Restate the liability from 10,000 to 9,000 in liability side. 1,000 rupees what you don't have to pay will become income in PL. I agree this is against conservatism, but when there is no going concern, you don't have time to think of conservatism. Understood? Second point, what if the liability value goes up? It is 10,000. For early settlement, you have to pay prepayment charges of 1,000. Let's say prepayment charges together, you need to pay how much? 11. In that case, you need to restate the liability in the balance sheet to 11,000. 1,000 increase in the value of the liability will go to P&L account debit side as expense. Deferred expenditure. Usually we will not write it in one period. We'll write it over a certain period. Do you agree with me? Very good. So let's say 5,000 is the expense. Get 1,000 to current year P&L. 4,000 should go to next 4 PLs. I'll write it in the balance sheet. It's not as per company's act. Anyways, that's the concept that we were following traditionally. If there is no going concern, what to do? Then that 5,000 should be completely returned to P&L in very first year. There's nothing carried forward in the balance sheet to next year. Some prepaid expenses for next 3 years, let's say. You would have to split it over three if it is going concern. If it is no going concern and you cannot get that money back, full amount write it in year one to P&L because you are not expecting to do balance sheet P&L next year because next year you will only be not there. I hope you understood. So when they mention that the entity is not a going concern, we have to redraft balance sheet and for every change in the value of the asset and change in the value of the liability, impact will be shown in the P&L. And then I told you at the end something very simple. You need to know this. It's an asset. It's a resource controlled by the entity, not owned, arising from the past event, giving future economic benefit. It's a liability. It's a present obligation arising because of a past event, which results in outflow of resources. This is asset and liability definition. You should know. Assets is equal to liabilities plus capital. Capital plus profit together is called as equity. Assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Equity. I can send liabilities this side. It will become assets minus liabilities is equal to equity. That's it. We know we have revised all the concepts that is required to solve all the possible questions on chapter 2 framework for preparation and presentation of financial statements.